Welcome to this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through the industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have Yeugenia Kazantseva, a life transformational life coach, and she helps professional women step into their power. She has an experience in corporate, non-profit, and self-employment background. And more will talk. Welcome to the show, Eugenia.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Ajay. It's wonderful to be here.
You are welcome, and you are welcome to not only the show, you are welcome to India, and we'll be talking about, you come from Russia, Moscow,
Yes.
and that brings a special relationship between India and Russia, and that means a special guest for us. So welcome to the show once again.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here. I'm still dreaming of visiting India, but when I lived in Russia, we actually had a store that was called Gang, like the river Gang, and we used to go there, and there were all these little things that were brought from India, like souvenirs. So I used to have a few things, and I used to have the statue of an Indian man dressed in traditional clothes. So it was I know we had a very special relationship, Russia and India. So it's great to be here, and it's great to be in front of your audience. Thank you for having me.
Wonderful, wonderful. It is indeed very special. And even the topic that we are discussing is very special, much more closer to the heart, like the relationship between India and Russia, how to live in alignment through knowing your human design. So first, Eugenia, just to understand for the audience exactly, what exactly is human design?
So human design is a system of knowledge that has been channeled by this man, Raoul Ruhu, in 1985, where a voice came to him and he channeled this information. And all it is that everything around us is energy, and we are made of energy. So how we interact and move through life is very important. And when we understand what kind of energy we consist of and how life brings us together with other people and the energy around us is what can allow us to be more in the flow, be more in alignment. So when we understand so he divided people into 4 types energetically. And so we show up differently depending on the time of our birth, the date and time of our birth. We show up in this world differently. And depending on what type of energy or type of energetic design you have, you show up differently. And people also take you a certain way, and they take in your aura, your energy. And so when you understand that, you can also understand what is the best way for you to operate in this world and how you can interact with others to have a more of a alignment, or to have more flow, to have an easier time. It doesn't mean that your life is going to be easy, but you can be in the right time, in the right place. So have more synchronicity, have more alignment, have more flow, and you can experience probably more joy. I mean, it depends what each one of us is looking for. But for each type, it's different things that we can experience that are important, that allow us to also understand that we're in alignment. And I'm happy to talk more about that.
Right, Eugenia. If I understand, humans, the way they have been made, they are asymmetrical. And God left it, the symmetry part or the alignment part, for us to do it ourselves. Why do you think God made us that way? By design, He made us asymmetrical. If I'm correct in understanding a little bit of whatever I read during my school days, and now He has left out to the humans to understand their human design, to live in alignment. How do you look at this part of this whole concept designed by the biggest creator called God?
Yes, well, I think that our time here is really all about understanding and knowing who we are. And the biggest questions we ask ourselves in different points of our life is why we're here, where do we come from, where do we go from here? So there's different systems that allow us to do that, such as astrology, such as yoga, such as different old systems of knowledge, right, that have a lot of wisdom. So human design, I think, is one of the systems that can help us understand ourselves and help us get to a point where we can be living our best life and also share our gifts. Because I think every one of us, we are a creature that is made in the likeness of God, of likeness of the Creator. So Creator wants us to be a creator, each one of us in our lives. And I think what human design allows us to understand is when we know how unique we are, because it's a system of differentiation first and foremost. So it allows you to understand your uniqueness versus how the same you are as others, right? Because we live in a society where we're all constantly compared. We're all conditioned to be more like other people. But when we understand that, yes, we're made in likeness of the Creator, and yet we each have a unique spark. And the Creator wanted us to be this way so that we carry this unique spark in the world. So human design is one of the systems that can allow us to really get to some of those questions, to really understand why we're here, what is our purpose, what are we here to do, and how we can express ourselves and create the best life for ourselves.
Right, right. In terms of, this alignment part, I'm just trying to understand when God designed us again, most of our body functions, our everything that runs our body, our existence, if I understand, and maybe I don't know if it's correct, but quite more than 70% is run by our subconscious system. We sleep and the body takes over. The subconscious mind takes over. The
Yes.
body functions, the eradication of all those negative things from the body and the way it has to function, it is done. It is the human that creates problems and starts interfering with the system that can actually lead to problems. So when our body and our systems have been designed in alignment, even though asymmetrical, made by the Almighty, what is it that we should align ourselves with? What is it left for us to align with so that we can actually live peacefully, actually the life which has already been designed so perfectly by the Almighty? How do you help us understand this?
Well, there's two things I think at play here. One is, and there's kind of my view of it, but also human design view. So I will give you sort of the human design view first, since I'm here to talk about, what it's like to be in alignment with human design. So the way that the system sees it is that there's a program always running behind us, right? Sort of the matrix. And if we constantly live in the matrix conditions us, it programs us to be a certain way that works for the bigger, for the program, right? And if we become just a little speck and we're always wanting to do what the program wants us to do, then we become like a robot. We become like not really a human. We just kind of do things that are expected of us, the program wants us to do. We don't really have our own consciousness. We're not really a creator in our own life. And so what human design allows you to understand is, what is it that makes me different, and how do I operate to understand what's correct for me, for you, for each one of us. And what's correct for me wouldn't necessarily be correct for you, AJ. And I think we live in a society, again, where the program is constantly telling us, well, Gary did this, or, this person did this, and this would work for you. Well, not necessarily. And so it's important to understand that we each have it inside of us, that inner voice, or our intuition, what we call, our intuition, that can tell us what is correct. And when we understand how our energy operates, and when we learn our design, we can actually see through our body how we function, and how does our body tell us what is true for us. So it's the connection between the consciousness and the body, right? So the physical, the mental. And so when we understand and we can actually listen to our body, because our truth always comes through our body. So when we live in alignment with our body, then our body can be moving us through life in a correct way. It wouldn't be our mind taking over. And so the way human design sees it is that our truth is always in the body. So listening to the body. And so it's very similar to what yoga teaches us, because it's living in full alignment. of all the energetic bodies, but first and foremost in the body, right? The temple that it is. So when we're listening to our body, we don't allow our mind to take over, because our mind really is all about everything we've learned from outside world and what the program teaches us. So being able to understand what our body is telling us, and then connect it through our energy, and then do what's correct and in alignment for us, is what human design teaches us. And then when we understand how unique we are, how what our body tells us, how it tells us, right? How do we listen to those signs? Then we can understand what's correct for us, and not let the program take us to the places that the program wants us to go. Then we truly have our own consciousness that allows us to be the independent and that divine spark, right? That divine human that the creator wants us to be, versus just somebody that is listening to everybody else. So it allows us to be actually connected to who we are.
Right, right, Eugenia. And I'm thinking, you see, you were born in Moscow,
Yes.
and then you worked in various parts of the world with politicians, actors, musicians, and athletes. Then you were in telecommunications, and you were taking care of mergers and acquisitions. I worked for several years. Then 17 years you have been in real estate, and then you came in contact with the human design part, which was not by design. It just happened, if I understand correctly. Tell us, how did you understand about the impact and the importance that of human design that would bring to you? Why I ask this is so that uh, others can also understand how it can change their life. Why did you think that what you were doing was not enough? You could have been sitting very easily and living a life, and you got into this, now transforming people's life by being a transformational life coach. How did you realize that it is something that is very important?
Well, thank you for that question, because it's been a journey. I think all of us go through life, and life takes us kind of as a river sometimes, right, through different things. And what I've realized is what I was doing was great, and I was enjoying it, but it wasn't kind of fully satisfying me. It wasn't fully kind of bringing me joy or using all my talents and gifts. And what I also realized that throughout my life, I've been actually coaching people. So I worked in project management, and I actually coached people. So I liked working with people. I liked explaining to them what's important. I like to understand how relationships work. I've always been interested in different systems, because I always been in this, for a long time, for probably 30 years, I've been trying to figure out, who am I? Why am I so different? I noticed that I was different from my family. I love them and I'm very close to my family, but I'm very different from my sister, for example. The way that, what's important for me, how my energy operates. I get tired easily, for example, but yet I'm very focused and I'm very observant. And my family, kind of what they've expected from me, and my teachers, and throughout my school, and throughout different work, kind of working with different organizations and different people. And so when I stumbled upon human design, I think I was ready for that knowledge. And what it allowed me to understand is that I'm a projector, which is about 21% of population. So human design divides people into 4 types. It's generators, and there's subtype manifesting generators, which is 70% of population. So these are people who have their sacral beings. So, the sacral, the second chakra, they're constantly getting the energy from the physical energy, from the universe, from the planet. And they have they're energetic beings. They're constantly here to work, to do, to build. And that's the type. It's 70%. It's a large percent of population. And so they condition the 3 other types who are not sacral. So it means that the energy is not replenished for them the same way as it is for generators. And generators, we need them. They're here. They're building this world. They're here to actually do this amazing work of, building and creating the life around us. And then there's 3 other types, which is projector. It's 21% of population. And projectors are coaches. They're people who understand how energy works, and then they can direct and mostly generators to do this work efficiently and in the right way. And then there's manifestors, which is about 7% of population, and they're leaders. They're people who are visionaries, and they usually stand alone. It's very small percent of population. And then there's reflectors, which is 1% of population, and they're here to reflect back to us the state of our communities. They're open beings, they're moon beings, and they're here to reflect to us what is going on in our lives in different communities. And it's 1% of population. So the three types that I just named, besides generators, they're non-energy types. They're here to tweak the work of generators and to make kind of, they have a specialty, these three types. And so because I am a projector, I'm very different from generators. And so people who are the three types, for example, they would wonder why they're so different from the rest of the population, of the 70%. So let's say if you go to a regular school, I went to school in Moscow, it was 42 children. So I'm assuming that 70% of those kids at least were generators, and the rest were maybe something else. And they were wondering, why am I this way? Why am I not learning this way? Why do I get tired? But why am I focusing my attention this way? Because these kids learn differently, and they look at life differently, and they take life in differently. So what it allowed me to understand is that I am different because of this energetic, but it also allowed me to understand that I have a gift of being able to connect with someone one-on-one, for example, and be present with them and allow them to live their life, or to help them see their life from a point of view, okay, how can you do this differently? Or how can you find a way to do this more efficiently? Or how can you look at this situation and transform it for yourself? Because I'm able to see right into them. That's what projectors can do. It's a very focused aura, because each type has a very different aura, and they show up differently. But it also allowed me to understand that I'm not good with large groups of people, for example, because my energy cannot be dispersed versus the energy of a generator or a manifesting generator. So I'll give you some examples. Oprah Winfrey, she's a generator, and she can hold an audience a certain way. And then Barack Obama, he's a projector. And if you see the way they focus their aura and the way they speak and the way they show up as presenters is very different. So what it allowed me to understand is that I'm different, that these are my gifts, but it also allowed me to understand and trust myself, because when I looked back on my life, I realized that I intuitively was living it correctly already. I was already in alignment because I was listening to who I was. I knew deep down that I was very different, even though the world and the program and living in Soviet Union did try to condition me, and did condition me in some way to be like others. But I've always kind of wondered and doubted it, right? And listened to my inner voice. So it gave me more confidence and more trust that I actually know already some of those things. So what this system can also help you with is to remind you of that inner voice, or maybe just reinforce you that you're already doing certain things correctly. And it's just another system of knowledge, right? I'm not saying this is law, or, it's always thinking about what's correct for you, right? And putting it through the filter of your own consciousness, and kind of really listening. Okay, does this feel good? Does this feel good in my body, first and foremost? Does this feel like truth for me? And I think that human design is one of those systems. It's not the only system. There's lots of other systems that can bring you to that truth. And there's different systems for different people. So and that's part of my design, is that taking these systems and actually filtering them through and being able to share my truth with the lens of those systems. So I always say I'm not married to human design. I date it, because when we become so focused on one system, it takes us to one side. But it can definitely help you glean into who you are. So that's why I recommend it. If you are open to different knowledge, some people are very open and they want to explore. So if you're open and you feel like this is something, whatever you're hearing, that this feels like the truth in your body, then it could be something that's correct for you.
Right, right, Eugenia. So I was just thinking about, what exactly your clients come to you for. Secondly, for a general person, started with the human design part so that they know exactly who they are.
So I'll answer the first question. When my clients come to me first, actually clients come for different things depending on kind of their needs. And I also feel like it has to be an energetic alignment. So when they feel that I'm the right person to help them get to some clarity in their life or understand what they're going through, but very often it's women who are going through a transition in midlife. So I went through it myself in my early 40s where I was in real estate and my career was doing well, but there was just something missing. My kids were growing up and I've been a very involved parent. I also had stepchildren who were growing up. And I felt like I've been doing so much for everybody else. And I've always put myself kind of second because there was just so many other things to worry about, so many other people to worry about. And it was time for me to actually start to focus on myself. What do I really want? So I went through a couple of years of kind of searching and learning, and I'm always learning and I'm always looking for answers. But I went through sort of this soul searching moment where I realized that my career was no longer fulfilling me. That's how I got into coaching and I got this whole certification and got this other education. And I realized that this is kind of a new chapter that opened up in my life because I allowed myself that. But there were also, some struggles that I've experienced. I mean, why am I feeling like something is missing? My life is pretty full. I have, raised great kids. I'm raising wonderful stepchildren. I have a great husband. I have a good career. But it just felt unfulfilling. And it took me a while. And I wish there was someone that I could go to for mentorship, for someone to talk to that could maybe help me and, give me some systems, some answers, right? So for example, human design is one of those systems that can allow you to understand, okay, well, at a certain point in your life, because I think we can live like a generator, which I did, a lot of us do, up until we're like in our mid 30s. And then you start realizing that it's no longer working. Something starts to give if we're not living correct to ourselves. Physically, something starts to give, or something else starts to happen where you feel like just something is not right. So, women very often experience this. And I wish there was someone that could have held my hand a little bit, or at least kind of help would give me some guidance in those moments. Because I went to all these different places and met all kinds of different people, which is great. But I sort of looked back and I thought, well, it would be wonderful to support women in this part of their journey. I also have men coming to me who are experiencing very similar things as far as kind of going through midlife or something is not working, like, needing clarity, needing solutions, needing some answers. Now, as far as human design, again, I work with other systems. I work with Destiny Matrix. I work with Gene Keys. I've been studying astrology for a long time. And human design is actually a combination of astrology, Kabbalah, the Hindu system of chakras, and the I Ching, the traditional book of wisdom, and also quantum physics. So human design is a very complex, like it's got a lot of things in it as a system. And that's why it looks like it's easy to understand, but it's just something, if you're interested in studying it, there's a 5-year course that one can take. And get the certification. But as far as sort of the system itself, one can go to Jovian Archive. It's JOVIAN ARCHIVE.com and get your chart. You can get a free chart from there. And then, there's lots of information out there on YouTube and other places where you can read about, what type you are, what profile, so kind of what role you're here to play. There's many different layers to the system. And I suggest to start from something very general, kind of to understand about your type first and foremost, because that will allow you to understand your aura and how you show up. And from there, you can go deeper and deeper and deeper, and basically all the way to what kind of diet, right, would be good for your body. Because all it is to maximize and to allow your body to function in the best way so it can show up correctly, right? Because if our body is in alignment, then we are healthy, then we are actually feeling good. We can really be correct, right? We can really feel, okay, what's happening? Because if we're experiencing pain somewhere in the body, we cannot focus on anything else, right? It's very distracting. But if our body is healthy, it's supporting us in the right way. So it is very similar in some way to again, what yoga teaches us, or some other, or Ayurvedic medicine, right? It is all about the body and aligning the body to who we are.
Right, right. And how do people connect with you? Those people who want to learn directly from you, want to engage with you professionally.
So please reach out to me. My website is yeugenia.com. And Yeugenia, it's YEU, so Yeugenia with a Y, YEUGENIA.com. You can contact me. I have a YouTube channel where I share information. I share some of my knowledge, some of the wisdom that I've acquired through the years that I've been lucky enough to acquire. And I'm also working sometimes with group coaching as well, with small groups of people, of women mostly, where we can learn together. We can go through different experiences together. And I'm also planning a retreat in November in Mexico, which is going to be really interesting with a small group of women to go through, to be on a special land because it's energetically very powerful for women. And it's a women's retreat to step into the power and in our power, right? To step into your power, to help you understand that unique gift that you bring into the world and to create from the place of that femininity and beauty and wisdom that women acquire at a certain, in midlife. And to understand that this is a whole new chapter that we're stepping into and how beautiful and potent this chapter is.
Right, right, Yeugenia. My last couple of questions to you is: you said alignment is about, about aligning with the body. A lot of people uh, talk about aligning uh, with the universe, with the larger thing.
Yes.
Now, how does that work together? Because a lot of philosophy is like body is it's mortal, it will go. Align with something which is going to be always there. Align with universe, align with God. Bunny. So who are we exactly? What is your understanding when you deal with so many people? You talk come from a telecommunications background. You can't see those airwaves, but they are there. In the same way, so many things, most precious things in life are invisible, but they are very much there. What do you think, who we are we some mutation? Is it that we are there by design, for what whoever designed it? And you see the universe, in especially on earth, it's the male, female. In every sort of species you have that power, to take the generations forward, to take humanity and the other species forward. How do you see it? Is life, if you can say, is life random or is it by design?
Well, I think that it's a combination. I think it's by design, but there's an element of choice that we all have. So I think every choice we make as humans, right? So I think we are sort of first and foremost, we're an energy speck and sort of in the big universe. And yet it's a divine spark of a creator. And each one of us is so, so different. And I think the more I work with people and the more I study different philosophies and kind of acquire my own wisdom through reading all these books and through kind of diving into that knowledge and also connecting and aligning to the universe, to the universal knowledge, because it's there, right? If we're open to it through meditation, through various ways of, experiencing our connection to the divine, we can understand that we're here for a reason. And when we understand that we're connected to the creator and to connected to the universe, we can also align who we are. So it's a combination. There's many different levels. And I think, yes, our body is only here for a short time, and yet this body is there for a reason. It feeds us, it sustains us. I also believe that we're given this body the way it is, even though, we live in this world where people always try to change the body, to change it to the standard of what the program, right, of what the world wants it to be. And yet it's a perfect body for what we're here to do. When I look at myself as a projector, I'm not here to work. Projectors are not here to work, let's say, a long day, right? We're here to show up, to provide solutions. So when I worked in telecommunications, for example, as a project manager, I could see what wasn't working right. So I could pinpoint exactly what needed to be done to make it better. So when I understand that, I also understand that my body, I'm not a very strong person physically, even though I worked out my whole life and, I consider myself quite athletic. And yet my body is not made for that. it's made to be more sort of present with clients. So, and I look at somebody who is more robust and physically strong, they're here for a different thing. And so we're all here, I think, made by the creator to be in exactly the right place in the right time in this life, to show up in this family, right? To learn all the lessons and to bring our parents, to bring the lessons to our parents as well as children. And our children are here to teach us lessons. So I think it's a complex question, but basically, we're here in the right place in the right time, exactly right now, especially as the world is going through a lot of different changes, right? I really feel it energetically that the world is experiencing a certain crumbling, but also a rebirth. I'm an eternal optimist, of course, and I think that hope and faith will allow us to really see the beauty. And I think it's also about what we focus on. But I think the creator wanted us to be here to help others and to help ourselves understand how divine and unique we are. And also, if we understand that, then others through us can see a reflection of who they are. So in this work that I do with people, I am just here to remind them, right, to reflect back to them who they are and remind them of their power, because very often we actually already have that knowledge, but somebody, because it's there, right? The creator has put it into us. It's just someone helps you open it up. It's like a book, right? That needs to be opened up or it needs to be uncovered, in the right chapter so that you can actually glean that information and through somebody else discover that all of it is already in you. All of us already have the capability, but we've just forgotten it. So I think as human beings, we're here and we exist on other planes as well. And our ancestors exist somewhere because I've studied family constellation work. So I believe in the importance of being connected to our ancestors, to being connected to our families. And a lot of us who grew up in big cities and did not have as many traditions, right, that are connected to the ancestral knowledge and to our families, right, our past ancestors, and we don't think about honoring our ancestors, not just the ancestors that we know or we've heard about, but the ancestors that we just don't know because it happened so many years ago. But you look into indigenous cultures and they do that all the time, and they're connected and they remember and they honor and they do this work. It's so important because I think it allows us to understand that we come into this life and we bring something and we live our life in the best way we can, and we try to learn our lesson and to live that divine spark, and we leave something behind us, a memory, an imprint, and then we go, right? But we exist somewhere else in a different plane, and then we come back as somebody else, right? I mean, I do believe in reincarnation, and human design is definitely a system. If you don't believe in the reincarnation, it's something that will be hard for, I think, for you to understand. So again, because people believe in different things, we are seeing the world through different lenses. And I think that's also the beauty of this life, right? But I think the more open-minded we are, the more we're willing to listen to others and understand how they came to the knowledge or the wisdom or the insight or the understanding of their life or how life works. It's also very interesting because it allows us to open our mind and to see maybe there's a different way, or maybe, this is something interesting I can look into. And then, we can make our own decisions and our own judgments and then come into our own alignment. But again, it's always through understanding ourselves and to feeling what's right for us. And that's what I always encourage people, is to listen to their voice, to understand how unique they are, and also to trust themselves. I think this world is moving into more of an individual way of existing, meaning that each one of us would need to, and our children and our children's children will need to understand more and more how unique they are. And that's what human design is telling us, is that after 2027, things are really, this world is going to change. And that each one of us would need to not depend on the government, not depend on somebody else, but actually be really connected to who we are and be responsible for our own well-being and be responsible for expressing ourselves in our unique way. So if you can start that journey now, then it's a perfect time.
It's the perfect time. Right. My last question to you, Eugenia, is that with now all the knowledge of human design, with all the experience of life, some good, not so good. You started working at the age of 19, became a single mom at 26. You saw life very closely. You worked in different industries. With all this knowledge of human design and life, if you look back at life now, what would you like to tell your younger self? And through this question, actually, I would want your wisdom to go to all the young people out there, and especially women,
Yes.
maybe 20, 22, 23, 25, so that they can make the best use of your experience, best use of the human design understanding that you have gathered.
Thank you for that question. It's funny because I'm actually writing a book for the last couple of years, and I'm going to complete this book hopefully in the next couple of years. And it is about the book is about all the lessons that I wish I was taught when I was younger. So I would say the first thing is to be kind to yourself, because I think as women and as men too, but women more often, we are so hard on ourselves. We're always, looking for ways to kind of what I could have done better. We're always criticizing. There's this inner critic that is there constantly telling us, and this inner voice is actually guiding a lot of our life. And so sometimes we don't take opportunities that maybe are for us because we kind of think, oh, I don't know if I could have, I could do this. And then you see, in a workplace, let's say that men, and there's statistics that say that men would take an opportunity where they don't necessarily have the knowledge, but they feel like they can do it. And women will often bypass that opportunity. So I would say, trust your inner voice, be kind to yourself. And you know what? It will be okay. It will all work out, because it does. I mean, I'm speaking from experience. I've had some desperate moments in my life, becoming a single mother at 26, being, sort of on my own, and raising two girls. And it's been hard. I worked two jobs. But I've given my kids a great life, a great education, a great upbringing. Most importantly, I gave them an example of what it's like to just live your life to the fullest, because I did. No matter how hard it was, I still enjoyed every day. I still had lots of joy, and I've spent time with them. And that's what matters. Like you said, it's about the things that are invisible. It's about the small, sometimes things, but they matter. The small things matter. And sometimes it's not about, how much you have, but it's actually the soul that you and the heart that you put into it. It's about those moments. And when I think back, and my girls always say, Mom, you didn't tell us how to do things or how to live our life, but you were an example. So I would say to young people, I would just say, you know what? Be the best person you can be, do the best, but also be kind to yourself and give yourself credit for getting to where you are now. And you know what? It will be okay. It will all work out, because it does. It does.
Surely it does. On this note, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you.